All right, let's talk about AI in our schools. We hear it all the time, right? That it's the future, that it's going to change everything. But today, we're going to look past all those shiny promises. We're going to dig into some pretty important cautionary notes and ask, what does this tech really mean for our students, for our teachers, and for parents? Let's jump in.
So let's just start with this. Just imagine it, a computer, an algorithm, making the call on who passes a class, who's falling behind, and maybe most shockingly, who gets flagged as a cheater. I know, it sounds like something out of a sci-fi movie, doesn't it? But the thing is, this future is way closer than we think, and it is packed with some big, messy questions and risks that we really don't talk about enough.
So first up, let's tackle this idea of the promise versus the actual problem. Because, when you start to really dig into the hype around AI in education, the whole thing starts to come apart at the seams, and pretty quickly too.
I'm sure you've seen the ads, you've heard the buzzwords. Companies are out there selling AI to schools like it's some kind of magic wand. They're making these huge claims, It'll revolutionize learning. It's a personalized tutor for every single child. And look, it's an amazing vision. You can't deny that. But what's really going on when we peek behind that curtain?
Well, check this out. A big European audit took a look at this. And what they found was that nearly 40% of startups that were claiming to use AI weren't using it at all. Yeah, you heard that right, 40%. So what this means is that schools who are so eager to innovate are often just buying into what you might call AI theater.
And this whole AI theater thing, it's not just some harmless marketing fluff. It means real schools are spending millions of dollars on tools that just don't do what they promise. And at the end of the day, it's the students who end up being the guinea pigs for all of this tech hype. Okay, but what about when the AI is real? What happens then? Well, even when the tech is legitimate, we smash right into another massive problem, the fundamental limits of what code can actually do. Think about it, right? AI systems are just math. They're incredible at crunching numbers, things like data points, how many times a student clicks, their test scores, all those engagement metrics. But how do you measure curiosity? How do you put a number on resilience? Or that little spark of inspiration a great teacher can give a kid who is just about to give up? That's the stuff that makes us human, and it's what learning is all about. And this isn't just a theory, by the way. They actually put this to the test in a huge study. Researchers gave AI teams over 13,000 data points from 4,000 families and told them, predict these students' life outcomes. And what happened? The AI couldn't do it. It completely failed. Because you can have mountains of data, but a human life, it's just not a predictable equation. We're stories, we're messy emotions, and we're relationships.
So, we've seen the hype, we've talked about the technical limits. Now we've got to get into where this gets really, really serious. The actual, real-world harm that biased AI systems can cause inside a classroom. Let's be really clear. AI is not neutral. And these aren't just what-if scenarios. This stuff is actually happening. We've seen automated grading tools accuse students with non-native accents of cheating. We've seen facial recognition systems in schools that literally fail to correctly identify students of color. And there are surveillance systems that track eye movements for engagement that can completely misread students with disabilities or even just kids who learn in a different way.
And that right there, that's the human cost. It's just heartbreaking. Can you imagine working so hard, pouring your heart into your schoolwork, only to have some flawed algorithm tell you you're a cheater? So instead of making things more fair, these AI tools can end up just making existing discrimination even worse and widening the gaps of inequality.
These problems aren't just little glitches in the code. They're actually symptoms of something much, much bigger, something rooted in the system itself. And it comes with real ideological and even environmental costs.
We have to start asking, who is deciding what AI in our schools is actually for? For a lot of big tech companies, education is just another massive, untapped market. So they design their tools to scale, to get schools locked into their products. And what this does is it reframes the whole idea of teaching, not as this deeply human, creative act, but as a data problem that just needs a tech solution. So when a school buys an AI platform, they're not just buying software, they're buying that company's entire philosophy of what learning is supposed to be.
And here is a hidden cost that almost nobody talks about, the environmental hit. And the scale of this is, well, it's just hard to wrap your head around. Training just one large AI model can release as much carbon into the atmosphere as the entire city of New York does in a month. That is just a staggering amount of energy. And this sets up a huge contradiction, right? The whole point of education is to prepare our kids for a sustainable future.
But by jumping on board with this incredibly energy-hungry technology, we're actively contributing to the very climate crisis that they are going to inherit.
Okay, so after all of that, where does this leave us? Well, the goal here isn't to give you some simple, easy answers. It's really to arm you with the right questions to ask as AI gets more and more woven into the fabric of our lives.
So, look, the big takeaway here isn't that AI in education is just good or bad. It's not some magic fix, but it's not pure evil either. What we have to do is see it for what it is, a deeply political, social, and ecological issue, one that has really complex trade-offs that are going to affect every single one of us.
And that really brings us to the most important part, the future of AI in our schools. It isn't set in stone. It's really up to all of us, students, teachers, parents, everyday citizens, to start asking these tough questions. Who really benefits from this tech? Who is getting hurt or left behind? And maybe the biggest question of all, what kind of future are we actually building for the next generation? By really engaging with this stuff critically, we can hopefully shape an AI that's more fair, more sustainable, and truly human-centered. Thanks for digging into all this with me.